Hey, this is JC and welcome to Small Brick City, where we want to help you build a Lego city regardless of the space you have. So sorry that we started a bit late. Technical issues abound. I thought I solved everything last week. If you were with us last week, we had to cut the stream short because we did not have a great Wi-Fi connection. In fact, the connectivity just didn't allow me to stream. We had to cut it short. We cancelled it. Basically, we hardly got into it, and that's why this is going to be a take two on how I build mocks. And the reason I was late is because we upgraded the wireless network adapter that changed the streaming IP, yada yada yada. Anyway, we are back online. If you see this, please let me know, just to make sure I'm not talking to anyone. Alright, good. You guys are here. I can see you on the chat. So welcome once again. This is Coffee and Bricks, episode 11, take 2. I'll chat with you in just a bit. Annie is in her small cupboard. She's not on the keyboard at the moment, I believe. So go ahead and chat. And if you're new to this live stream, my name is JC, of course, and let everyone know where you are in the world and what time it is. And for Coffee and Bricks, we always have a central topic, and today I'll be talking about how I build Lego mocks. It's really my process, and I'll share that with you. I also have a spotlight, which we'll discuss. I think that'll be pretty interesting, and of course we'll do our Q&A. Now, if you like to download some free Lego instructions and get all kinds of free stuff, I do suggest you check out basically smallbrickcity.com. And here you can submit your email and your name, and you can get access to building plans for a mini house. You get book reviews, video tutorials, and all sorts of great stuff. And to support the channel, you can do a couple of things. When you're at smallbrickcity.com, you can also check out some of our merchandise, such as our Do Not Disturb building in progress, various items from our creativity notebook, our coffee mug, and our tote bag as well. That's right, lots of fun today, and I'm going to turn on the chat, and let's just see who is here so that we can see everyone. All right, guys. If you are new to the channel, hit that like button. If you're watching this live or watching the replay, it really helps us engage with you guys. And you can also tune in to the super chats. They are enabled if they are available in your country. You can donate any amount you like through the super chats. And of course, you can subscribe to the channel as well. All right, as people are coming in, let's just have a look at the chat. Now, just chat with you guys for a while before we launch into it. Let's see who we have. We've got Krish, Ben Bricks, Brick Builder Blue, Tiny Brick City, Lego Maniac, Omar Build Bricks, Galagade, Jommy Builds, Ken Wheels, Steven, Sandra, BrickTube, Adora Build, Island, BrickTube, Trudy Brick. Great. Thank you so much. Did you guys miss the stream last week? So sorry about that. But this is take two. I guarantee it's going to be good. And let me know if the stream is good. We are on a boosted Wi-Fi signal now. Got a brand new upgraded wireless adapter. I think everything should work fine. All right, if you've got any questions, please don't hold them to the middle of the live stream or at the end. That's why I do the Q&A. But right now, let's launch into the topic at hand. And today we will be talking about how I build Lego mocks. Now, for those of you new to Lego, a mock is my own creation. That's the abbreviation, and it basically means any kind of Lego project that you build on your own. You don't follow the instructions to the official Lego set, and you basically customize or create your own Lego set, and that is a mock. So very straightforward. So in this video, what I'm going to do is to share my process. Now, this is not the only way to go about building a mock. This is not the right way. This is purely my way and how I build. But if you like the builds or the mocks that you see in my channel, this might be useful for yourself when you attempt to build. If you are someone new to mocks, this information might give you insight on the process of building a mock. If you're very experienced at building mocks, you can just bounce some of the ideas that I have and see if it works for you. So that's basically what this is about. I should also mention, when I'm talking about Lego mocks in the context for Small Brick City, we are talking about Lego cities. So not so much on vehicles or mechs and stuff like that. It's mainly city builds, generally buildings or any kind of build that you might see in a city, and not so much focused on vehicles. So that's the caveat for that. So how did I come across this particular topic? I basically asked you guys in a poll, and that was almost probably 10 days ago now. And you're wondering where this poll is? Well, if you head over to the channel for Small Brick City on YouTube, you can see the community tab. So if you hit that community tab, you get access to various posts that I do. Sometimes I share images, and that's where I did a poll, and I asked basically if people would be interested in my process of building mocks for Lego cities, and if so, which aspect of the topic interests them the most. And you can see the results in front of you. 10% felt they wanted to know how I plan the size of my mock. 20% wanted to know whether I use existing spare parts or do I buy parts for mocks. And we had 4% who only were interested in the order of the build, and 18% for the detailing of the mock, but an overwhelming 48% were interested in everything, in all aspects. So I will use this as a guide in terms of the attention I would place on each of these various aspects. So I do listen to you guys. So if you see this poll, please do, take part, because it really helps in terms of how I curate my content and how I create content that you want to watch. So let's get started with my process, and I've broken it down to 8 steps. And the very first step is actually, of course, I'd say this is the step zero. Step 0 is how do you get the idea for a mock? Now, I'm not going to discuss this in this live stream because we did that in the previous live stream. So check out my videos and look for that particular video on how to get ideas for Lego mocks. So of course, when you build a mock, you start off with the idea. You need to know what you want to build. So I'm going to start this particular video assuming you've already decided what you want to build. You've got a conceptual idea of what you want to build. So step 1 would be to plan the size of the mock. Now, I think this is really based on necessity or availability. Let's assume that you do not have a lot of space. Then it really depends how much space you can afford this particular mock. Or maybe you have a specific space you need to fill up in your Lego city, regardless of the size it is. You might have a 32 by 32 space that you want to fill up, so that will be the size of the mock you're working on. You might have a smaller size to work in, then that's the size. So you're restricted by really the size. But here's a tip. Whatever the size is, I generally try to work on a smaller scale if I can help it. Of course, sometimes you just need a specific size, so it has to be that size. But if, let's say, you're building a toy shop and you have a space of 32 by 32 studs base plate, it doesn't mean you have to build your shop 32 by 32. In fact, I think it's better to build it half, so 16 by 32, and then you can build something else, put it together, and now you've got 2 builds in the space of a 32 by 32 stud footprint. So you do not always have to fill up all the space you have. So I recommend generally working with a smaller size, or the smaller size that makes sense for your particular mock. And that's what I do. And the reason is this. Most important, I think, is practicality. I save on the number of parts. I save on the number of bricks. I can make the build a bit more interesting because I've got more things to squeeze in a smaller space. And finally, I can add more buildings to my Lego city if I use less space for a particular build. So when it comes to planning the size of my Lego mock, yes, I do look at the size that is required for the build, but I go with the minimum size possible that makes sense in the context of my Lego city. So don't always try to build big, build the smallest that is possible and makes sense for your Lego city. Now, the second thing that I think about then is, do I use existing parts or do I buy parts for the mock? And I can tell you for 90% of my mocks, I use the existing parts that I have. I typically do not buy parts just to build a mock. I have one exception so far, probably my skyscraper. I had to buy a lot of window parts to make up that particular build. But generally, I work with what I have. Now, that doesn't mean I don't buy parts along the way, because my process of buying Lego parts, and I just did it yesterday, is I'll head over to a Lego store, and if they happen to have parts that I think have potential for a build in the future, I would buy them and stock up on them, especially basic parts. Now, what do I consider basic parts? I go first by the basic colors, and to me, my basic colors are white, black, dark gray, and light gray. And if I see that they have plates, tiles, or bricks in those colors, and I don't have many of them, or I think I could use more of them, I would stock up on those parts, even though I may not have a particular build in mind. Because I find that the basic parts generally would lay the foundation of almost any mock that I build. Of course, sometimes there are specialty mocks like the cathedral that I'm almost completing. That doesn't use any white, black, and maybe a very little bit of gray. However, for most of my builds, at least the foundation would use some of these colors. So I would always stock up on these colors, and that's why they'll always be in my collection. So I typically will not specially buy parts just to build a mock. Of course, this is entirely up to you, but this is my process. I think it's just pretty expensive just to buy parts for a mock unless I really need that particular mock. So 90% of the time, I will use parts that I have. So that also means the color scheme of my build will fit or will be done based on the parts I have on hand. So hope that answers your questions. Now, I'm not going to talk about how I sort or organize my bricks, okay? So don't ask me that in the live chat or the comments. But let's go to point 3, and that is planning the build and organizing the parts. Now, I think this is critical in being able to do your build fast. So I think I build generally pretty fast. I'm pretty productive because I plan. I plan and I organize my build in advance, and that then helps me build fast as I go along the way. So there is a lot of planning involved. So let me show you what I do when I plan my parts. So what I do is I take the parts that I think I might need, and I'll put them together in what I call my planning boxes. That's right, this is a very high-tech planning box system made from food containers. And I just have a whole bunch of different food containers. They're different sizes because I bought different sizes at one time, and I just reuse them all the time. And here's an example of a build I am working on, and I would place different parts together. I would say that this is not my exact way I would organize parts. I generally would organize parts by the part. So in this case, you can see I have on the left all long plates. And then in the middle, I've got a combination of short plates and bricks in white. And then the next one are light tan and brown. And the next one I have, I believe these are cone parts, window parts. And finally, I've got tiles on the right. So it really depends what I'm building, but I try to organize it in such a way that I can identify the parts immediately. Sometimes if I'm building a bigger mock, I'll need more boxes, of course, and I'll split it in color as well. So if you look at the box on the left, those are all plates, long plates. And when I mean long, anything 1x6 and above. And I have them in my basic colors of black, white, light gray, and dark gray. But if I'm building a large mock and I need to split this out even more, I would have a couple more boxes, and I'll just have all the white plates together, all the light gray plates together, all the black plates and all the dark gray plates all in one box. Same with the bricks. So it's possible with big mocks, I may have up to 15 of these takeout boxes in front of me filled with different parts. And I organize it in such a way that I put all the plates together on one side, the bricks in the middle, and the weird stuff. When I mean the weird stuff, I'm talking about like the cone pieces, the window pieces, all these odd parts that will form the structure of the building will go to my right. So I have a clear idea on my work table where the different parts are. This allows me to access a part very fast. Now you might be thinking, when I separate and organize these parts as you see in front of you, do I actually count the number of parts I need? No, I do not. I just make an estimation of how many I might need, and I'll put them in these boxes. So along the way, if I do not have enough of these or I run out of a particular part, I will have to go to my larger parts collection to grab another bunch. But this does save a lot of time, and I do recommend it if you intend to build. Regardless of the size, this is a great way to start organizing a build. And I can take up to half an hour just to put all these boxes together with the different parts before I even start to build. And sometimes you can see this in my videos in the series of building a mock from start to finish. I have all these boxes in front of me, and it really helps in the flow of that particular video as well. But it's a good tip regardless whether you're filming the process or not. Let's go to the next one, and that is how I go about building the actual mock or the building. And what I do is I always build from ground up, and I only build or concentrate on the exterior structure first. So I do not think too much about the interior. I do give thought, but I'm not focused on it. And I'm also not focused on the detailing, including the detailing for the exterior. All I want to achieve when I start building my mock is to build some kind of structure from ground up. That's it. So that's what I'm interested in, and that is my process. Now, when you build official Lego sets and you look at the instructions, they go by layers. So if you start on the ground floor, they start with the external structure, but also the tiling and some detailing. And that's just the way, when instructions are made, that's the logical way it's done. It's done by layer. So you can build up all the way. And if I were to create instructions in a digital designer, that will be the same way. When the instructions are created, they'll be created layer by layer. However, when I build, I don't build with a digital designer. I build physically. I like the tactile feel of the bricks and just putting things together and visualizing it in my head as I build. And therefore, I can't, well, maybe it's because of me. Other people might be better, but at least for me, I can't visualize the exterior and interior at the same time as I'm building for the very first time. Maybe some people can do that. Maybe you can do that. If you can, let me know in the comments. But for myself personally, I find it best just to work on the structure. Now, before I even build, I generally have an idea of how my build will look like. So I'm not just putting bricks in front of me and randomly just experimenting. I do have an idea of what I have in my mind. So professionally, I do production design for theatrical props, and I design stage props and stuff like that. So I do have a bit of ability to visualize a build in my mind, and I can rotate it. I can see it in 3D. I can see it from different views because I do draw out plans as well for these theatrical props. So you need to know how to see them at different angles. So this is something that I guess my professional training has helped to visualize a Lego build. And that's why I build from ground up and then all the way up, and only the exterior. I don't worry too much about the detailing. However, having said that, one thing I do is I do think about the interior details before and during the build to guide my structure. So as I build, or even before I build, I do have a rough idea of what I want inside my build. For example, if you're building a Lego toy shop and that's your mock, you would have an idea of what you would want inside. For example, if you're building a Lego store mock, you think you definitely want a pick-a-brick wall. You need displays for Lego sets. You might want to have a giant statue or a brick-built model. You need a cash register. So these are things that you know you want inside, even though you might not know the exact shape or the size, but you do conceptually know that you need these interior builds inside. So this does help. This helps you figure out your layout inside. It helps you figure out how big you might need to build your structure. And also important, if you're building several levels, if you intend to build a second or third floor, you need to think about floor access. Are you building a staircase? Are you building a lift? And if so, where would the position of these access points be in the mock? Because you will need to build a corresponding hole in the floor of the upper level. So for example, if you are building a staircase, you will need a hole in the level or the floor of your second floor so that minifigs could climb up the stairs and get to the second level. So you need a stairwell, a hole. So in a way, you do need to figure this out. One thing that helps me is I do have a collection of small interior builds, and here are 2 boxes worth. I started out with 1 box, but I've just had too many along the way. And these are builds from either official sets or mocks that I've built, or mocks that I've modified, or builds that I built previously and I took them apart. And I kept all the what I call the small builds. And if you look into the box, you'd see anything from pinball machines to arcade machines, beds, chairs, coffee machines, a whole bunch of different collections. So I've got a whole bunch of these. And before I start a build, I would look into these boxes and see if any of these builds will be relevant to the mock that I'm building. Even if it's not the exact size, or even if it's not the exact colors that I want, I do use them as reference pieces. So I would dig out a bunch of different small builds that I think would fit into the mock I'm building, and I would use them as a guide as I build my particular mock. And that's what I mean by thinking about the interior details to guide your structure. So after you have built the structure, all right, so you have successfully built the exterior structure, now you can think about the detailing. Personally, I don't work on the exterior first, I work on the interior. So what does detailing for the interior means? It basically means you are going to fill in the interior with furniture. You're going to decorate the floor maybe with tiles if you do not want to keep them unstudded. You can decorate the wall. You can add accessories like fans or lights or other facilities. Toilets, of course, toilets. The most important thing you need in any Lego build are toilets. So that's actually, scrap everything I said before. The first thing you want to do is put in a toilet, especially if it's relevant to your build. And then you think about lights and stuff like that. So, but basically you design the different parts you need for the interior and you fill in the interior space. So that's basically what I do. After I fill in the interior space, I go to the exterior. But let me give you some examples of interior spaces. So for example, this is a fire station mock that I built fairly recently, and you can check that out in a video. Just look for my playlist and look for that. So obviously when you think of a firehouse, there are things that you need, right? They're just things that you need in a firehouse. So you need a fire truck. And that's how I actually got the size of my mock. I designed it around the new 2019 fire truck, which you see on the left. And in the garage, you need all the various equipment. And then I needed, this is the ground floor you're seeing, of course. And then on the other side is the administrative office of the firehouse. So here's a look at the second floor. So for the second floor, to me, see what I mean? There's a toilet right there with a shower, and there also there's a small kitchen which is on fire, and there's a bunker bed where a fireman is resting. And the idea behind that, of course, is figuring out what is logical for the interior and then building and filling it up. So that's basically what I came up with for the firehouse. So after I built up the exterior, I then went about detailing the interior, and I do that for any building regardless what the theme is. Now after you've done the interior, or after I do the interior, the next thing I do is figure out the exterior, and that is how do I go about detailing the exterior so that it looks textured, it adds to the overall theme or design of the mock, and basically really makes it stunning. Because remember, when people view your Lego mock, whether it's in person, whether it's in social media, through videos or photographs, they're going to see the exterior first, right? They generally will not see the interior first, unless of course you give interior shots. But generally when you share your mock, you always show the outside first. So that's why it's very important, in my opinion, to detail it as much as you can. But I always leave it to the last. I'm not sure, that's just my process. I like to make sure the building is built, the interior is all good, and then I work on the exterior details. So sometimes if I have to break the mock apart to put in some details like hanging lights or modified plates to add ledges or just some kind of detail, I will do that. I have no qualms doing that. Even though my interior, I still do that. Let me give you an example of an exterior that I worked with. So this is not a mock in the sense, this is actually a standard set. This is the Hillside House. It's a creator house that was released a couple of years ago. So all I did was really to detail the interior and then the exterior. I didn't really change the structure much. So this is more of a modification than a mock. But it's a good example for explaining how I go about detailing the exterior. So what I did was look at this and I figured out how can I make this mock even better, or this build even better, by adding details to the garden and the garage. And this is what I came up with. Basically, I figured I needed to put in a really lush garden. I wanted a footpath. There's a barbecue pit and a deck for the family who is living here to maybe to party basically outside. I added a tree, I added tiling in front, and all kinds of greenery. So you can see the great difference. Here again is the before picture, and here we have the after picture. You can see there's a huge difference, and it really adds so much to the build. So that's why I think exteriors are really important, and I do spend quite a bit of time putting it together. So after I work on the exterior, now comes what I consider the most important. In fact, this is what gives life to any build, or especially my builds. I think one thing that separates my mocks from others is the life that I bring to the builds. And how do you bring life to something that's not animated, something that's static, something that is basically made of plastic? And that is to create stories. And that's basically what I do. I try to go ahead and create stories. And let's see if I have an example of that. So creating story means creating different scenes, creating different minifig displays, and having them in actions. Now do check my playlists, because I do talk about how to create stories with minifigs by creating scenes, and I do differentiate between static scenes and dynamic scenes. So static scenes might be something that is not so much motion involved. It could be something mundane like queuing up for coffee, queuing up for a bus, walking up steps. So these are static scenes. Dynamic scenes are something that's much more interesting. There may be a robbery going on. Someone might be buying illegal sugar from someone. Maybe someone is diving into the sea and a shark is about to bite them. Those are dynamic scenes. Regardless, these are ways to tell stories in your mock. And here's an example of a mock that I worked on some time ago. And this is really a display, more of a diorama, combination of several builds. There's a lighthouse on a little mountain, and there's a whole sea or water scene, and then we have the old fishing village, or fishing store, I'm sorry, and next to it, all the way on the right, was an extension plate I did where I had an outhouse and a water tank. So if you look at this, obviously you see the rich exterior decorations, but let me show you some ideas of the stories that I created or the scenes that I created. So if you look at the lighthouse all the way on your left, you can see it's high up on a little rocky mountain. And you might even be able to see the lighthouse attendant or the lighthouse keeper with a red mug over there. And he's actually a retired captain of a ship. But what you may not know is that he's actually new to the job, even though he looks pretty old. They couldn't find the previous lighthouse keeper for some reason. But that's because they didn't look close enough. If they looked down below the rocks, they would have noticed that, well, seems that he took a untimely and unfortunate plunge down below. And obviously he was wearing a toupee, which is why everything has kind of decomposed except his hair, because that's non-biodegradable. And then if we move to another section of the sea, we can see a very dynamic scene. And here we have a whale, or maybe an orca, who's jumping out of the water and is basically catching a fish. So that's a very dynamic scene. Doesn't involve any minifig, so to speak, but it does have a brick-built whale, and it's got a fish. Here's an example of a static scene, and this is what I created outside the old fishing store. So I did an extension plate, as I mentioned, and I basically have various people working on the docks, collecting seafood that a fisherman has brought. We've also got a guy fishing. So it's not dynamic in the sense that you don't have great wild action, but it adds to the life of the story and gives context to the old fishing store and lets you know that it is in operation, because we do have people working there and they are trading. There's a bit of commerce going on, so it gives you life to the build. And that's basically it. Let me show you another build. I don't have stories here, but this is an example of exterior structure, and it gives you a hint of life that might happen. And that is for the cathedral that I've been building. And it's not completed yet, because I'm going to make the entire surroundings cobblestone. You can see there's lots of grey tiles now, but all that is going to be cobblestone on the left and right. So what you see on the extreme right, where you see black and dark gray, all that's going to be cobblestone, and everything else on the left is going to be cobblestone as well. But this is just an idea of how you can see potential life about to be created, and you can see opportunities for stories, because I've written a whole backstory for even, let's say, the graveyard, which is adjacent to the cathedral. You can see tombstones and graves guarded by this fence or gate, and there's even a gargoyle here. I can let you know that, of course, this is a historical tourist attraction in my city. And over here you see a shot through the memorial, or through the ruins. Actually, there's an old ruins archway, the only ruins left out here, and you can see all the way through to a more modern memorial statue being set up in a fountain, and a memorial wall as well. And I have a full backstory that I've written for this particular cathedral mock, and there's a reason for everything you see here, and I will be working on this video subsequently. But just looking at the build, you can see all the opportunities for builds, for stories and minifigs to be staged. So that's basically my process of building a mock from start to finish. And hopefully my ideas might give you ideas, or at least my approach might give you ideas on how you might approach your own mocks. It might save you time, or might give you inspiration to add more detail to your mocks. Alright, I'm going to head to the chat because I haven't seen the chat for the past 20 minutes. So I'm going to see what you guys saying, and I'll answer questions if you might have. First of all, Ben Briggs, thank you so much. He donated to the super chat. You said thanks for the great work and inspiration. Well, thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. Do check out Ben Briggs' channel. He's got lots of great stuff as well, and he's been a great supporter of Small Brick City for a really long time. Okay, so let's see who has joined us and if I can answer any questions along the way. So let's pull up the chat so you guys can see the chat on the screen as well as I talk about it. And here we go. So I'm not going to go too far back. If you've got any questions, you can ask them now. By the way, hi to FMR Brick Films. I didn't say hi before. Nathan, how are you doing? Brenda, Brick of Gollum, Max Clark, great to see you guys here. Mama's Bricks, fantastic. Clorox Bleach. And let's see. So, Brick of Gollum says, where is Annie, by the way? I have no idea where she is. I'm now locked in my little man cave over here. She's probably in her cupboard. It's now 12:40 a.m. So maybe she's fallen asleep. And let's see, Legendary Gaming, how are you doing? Drum Bones, how are you doing? Have I ever considered stop motion to further tell my stories? Stop motion will really take up too much time. I can't do that. In fact, if you've been following my channel, my content has slowed down this week, and the reason is I've just started on a big project for work, not Lego, but for work, and I've got another project which is starting also in maybe 1 or 2 weeks, and that hasn't even started yet, and I'm already so busy, so I haven't had time to build. That's the biggest problem. I haven't had time to build. So if I don't have time to build, I have no time to really film anything. So just to give you guys a heads up, my content will probably slow down for the next maybe 2 months because I've got lots of real work to do. Yeah. Cyberbricks87, Mahan, you have been busy building. Christoph, thank you very much. Do you have any recommendations for a set which would be a good starting base for mocks? I think you guys should start off with one of the 3-in-1 creator sets. If you're just new to mocks and you want something to be a base to start building, buy one of the 3-in-1 creator builds. For example, this year they came out with the townhouse and the pet store cafe. Previous years they had the corner deli, the bike shop and stuff like that. So those are good builds to start off with. You of course can start off with a modular building, expert modular building, but those are really so well designed, there's really not much you can mock, and it's really almost a pity, and you would feel a bit of a heart pain if you were to break that down to mock. So start off with one of the smaller 3-in-1 sets. Ken, thank you for joining us. I know it's late for you. Do check out the replay. So do you have any more questions specifically, guys? Do let me know. and I'll answer them. One thing I built recently was this small vending machine. I have it over here. So this is the small vending machine I built. If you want, you can check out the tutorial. It is in the video link. One thing I mentioned was, you see, I used 1x6 plates here, or towels, okay? So that's a 1x, okay, I'm wearing black, this is black, but you can see it here. So that's a 1x6 towel that goes on here. And I said you could use a 2x6 towel if you have. And both Kaz from Blockhead UK and LEGO Maniac said there's no such thing as a 2x6 towel. Now, the reason why I said 2x6 towel is I have a 2x6 towel here. Look at that. Hey, LEGO Maniac. See, check this out. That's a 2x6 towel, and that goes on here, right? I hope I didn't punk myself. I'm sure it'll fit on. Yeah, there it is. Well, okay, maybe it doesn't work. It doesn't fit exactly, but I'll just have to rearrange the inside. But this 2x6 towel obviously must not be Lego. Now, I found this, and I've only one, and it was in my towel box. So I've got to say, this must be a knockoff Lego piece. Because 2 years ago, I bought from eBay a bunch of used Lego bricks. But because I was a newbie at that time, I didn't know there was such thing as knockoff bricks. And mixed up with all the legitimate Lego, there were knockoff parts. And this must have been one of the knockoff parts. So this obviously must not be real Lego. So you can't use a 2x6. So Lego, get on with it, okay? We want 2x6 plates or towels. So in this case, just stick to my original design, and that uses 2 1x6 towels. I just thought that would be interesting. Okay, so I'll answer more of your questions in just a bit. But right now, I'm going to talk about the Spotlight. Okay, well, let's see. Cyberbricks87 says, see if it says Lego on the back. I looked and it doesn't say Lego, so that's why I'm quite sure it is a knockoff. Legendary Gaming says, do I have a local Lego store? Man, I've mentioned this many times before, but you might be newer to the channel. In Singapore, in a 30-minute radius, I have 6 Lego stores with pick-a-brick walls. So I've got a lot of them. In Malaysia, KL, where I also live, within a 30-minute radius, I have 3 or 4 Lego stores. So I have lots of Lego stores around me. Yes, Ruth Adorable, you're so jealous, and that's because you're living far, far away. All right, so here we go. Let's talk about the Spotlight. Every time or every episode, I have a Small Brick City Spotlight, and that's on maybe an interesting build that I'm working on or just something interesting. So here we go. So the Spotlight for this week has nothing got to do with something I build, but maybe it's something that we potentially can remock. And it's basically a new set, and that is the set 60203, the Ski Resort. This is something brand new that Lego has just kind of released. And in fact, I haven't really seen this. I saw the images, so I grabbed them for this live stream. So I'm now going to give you my comments live as I see this closely for the very first time. I believe this retails for about 80 US. It will be released to everyone on the 1st of August, but VIP members get it on the 23rd of August. Now take note, this is a city range. This is not part of the Winter Village set, but obviously based on the theme, it can. All right, so let me give you my thoughts on this. Basically, if you have ice or snow or some kind of a winter display, I think you would like this a lot because you get a lot of different things within the set. This is a bit like the city square or town square sets, most recently like the donut shop opening. You get many small builds that are relevant or related to a central theme, and that's pretty cool. Now, the thing is, I think with this particular one, as usual, and that's my complaint with these kind of builds, for the buildings, you really just get the front facade. And this looks like it's 4 studs deep at the most, which means that it is very thin. And as you know, I generally do not like that. And you can here look at the back, and you can see it's all open back concept. So just like any of the new city or creator sets, they're all open back. So if you do want to mock it into a fuller building, you would need parts to build it up. But if we just look at the main structure first, I'll get to the smaller builds first. Let's look at the two main structures. The ski, I guess that must be the main resort over there. Very nice pitched roof. The color combination is good. Obviously, it's a ski resort that I will not visit because there aren't any toilets. And you do get a shop next to it as well. That's pretty cool. I think most people, again, if you do have a winter setup, you might like this. What might appeal more to you are the smaller builds that come with it. We do have that nice snow plower truck. I think the colors are nice. The scale is good as well. You get that mobile ski sled. Ski sled. That looks pretty good as well. And then you get a whole bunch of minifigs, and with the general winter themes, of course, you get the minifigs, the snowman. You get people with a not a surfboard, that would be a snowboard, and there's also a helicopter up above. But I generally do not like these helicopters. They're just really too small to be practical, and it looks like any other helicopter but just in different colors. You know, you get a lot of these city helicopters, especially sometimes with poly bags or the smaller set. In my opinion, they look generally the same, just in different colors. What is pretty cool is a half pipe for the snowboarder. I think that's pretty cool. And let's just have a look at the various elements here so I don't miss them out. So let's start on the left. As I mentioned, that's the sport shop. Very fitting. You get all kinds of parts, enough detail to make it worthwhile. But I do feel with the flags, with just the way it's built, it does feel a bit like any other of the small stores that LEGO has released, but in different colors. So I don't think there's much of a dynamic change in the design. I talked about the main lodge or the ski resort. It is what it is. I do appreciate that pitch roof, so that's pretty nice. And then we look at the snowmobile sled in front. That's nice. You got all the minifigs. That snow plower, I think that works. And then behind, I missed out, there is some kind of a market stand or a coffee stand, and that looks just like one of the stands from the Winter Village stores. We do have the half pipe for the snowboard. I think that's pretty cool. That's nice. And then that small helicopter, as we said. Overall, my thoughts is, well, if I personally were to get it, because I'm Small Brick City, right, I would use it and I would modify it to fit it into my LEGO city. Due to the size of my city, and also just due to where I think my tourist resort is, I don't have a snow or winter setup. But I do winter setups maybe just for the season. But I doubt I'll put this in. If I were to buy it, and I would say now, I doubt I will buy the set because I think it's hard to fit in my theme. But if I were to buy the set, I would remark certain things to fit a non-winter theme. So for example, that snowboarding half pipe could easily become a skateboarding half pipe. The other main builds can easily be lodges or some kind of outdoor wilderness lodge. That would be pretty nice, and you could even fit it in with one of the recent 2019 outdoor lodge sets as well. So you could remark everything together. For the snowmobile, well, maybe I could make it become a large jet ski. And for the snow plower, I'll remove the plower and it will just be a regular truck. So that's what I'll do. Let me see what your thoughts are. You guys, what do you guys think of this build? All right, let's see here. Hi, GJ Bricks. You are awake, amazingly. And here we have Jason. How are you doing? Jason Chapman. Good to see you here. And let me see what you guys think of the sets. So that's what we can see. Drumbone says, yep, no toilets. Lego Lemaniac says, that does not look like a safe way of transporting an injured skier. Maybe the helicopter is not for the skier. Max Clark says, these sets are too much like mini doll houses to you. Fair enough. And Max continues by saying there's some play value but not enough for a proper building. Really need to buy two sets to have enough of the same color. Yep, that's the thing. If you're like me and you want to build fuller buildings, often you have to buy two of these sets, which means it's twice the price, right? So sometimes it doesn't make sense. Kermit the Frog, I sent you my sig fig on Instagram DM 3 months ago. I haven't seen my sig fig. That's because I haven't built anyone's sig fig because I haven't done any city updates. I generally put in sig figs when I do city updates. I haven't done a city update. And now, I was supposed to do one probably this week or next week. But as I mentioned earlier, I've started work on 2 new projects, or rather I've started work on 1 new project, which I'm actually heading. So that's a lot of work. And then I've got another project which I'm directing. That comes in maybe next week. So I'm sorry, it's going to be pretty busy. BrickTube, did I see a comment? No, I'm not sure. I probably passed it, so I'm sorry. Do ask it again. Hi, Blockhead UK. It's nice enough, but I won't be buying it personally. Oh, Lego Lemonade said the snow sled. Oh, okay, so sorry. Yeah, I didn't see that. So there's a guy who's been injured and you're supposed to be transporting him. I agree, not safe. Brick of Gollum, you think the set is too expensive for what it offers, but it's cool for winter. Yeah, I agree with you, but it looks a lot to me a bit like the donut shop opening. So if you have enough parts in the set that you like, it's worth it. If not, it's not worth it. And let's see who we have. Ruth says, is Lego Maniac speaking from experience? Probably. And that's why we never see his face, if you realize. Maybe he got injured and disfigured. All right, here we go. Lots of windows. Okay, great. So that's my spotlight. I hope you enjoyed it. So ask me a couple more questions. I will answer them because I've covered most of the things I have. Let me see if I have any other updates, because you're probably wondering what's going forward. I have to finish my cathedral mock. I am still waiting for parts. I also actually have to redesign my uptown, which is going to be a whole amusement park area. I actually have a lot of the parts. I don't have enough green base plates. That's easy enough to get. But now is the problem finding time. I will mention, I've got 3 porta potties for my amusement park. That's right. It's a traveling kind of a theme park, amusement park. I'll call it more of a fun fair amusement park. So it's more of a carnival. So traveling carnival, 3 porta potties. All right. So I haven't built those, but I have them. I've also got some small bits and pieces which I'm going to add to builds. But again, it is time that will be the issue for me. GJ Bricks knows what I'm talking about because I discussed this. Let's talk about BrickTube. Here's your comment. You saw my city videos, inspired me, and made one great build. And you have built your own on the 32 by 32 by 48 base plate. I will check it out later. CyberBricks87 says, I'm working on bank mock and I wonder, how do you figure out the size of your building? I mentioned it earlier. You can check out the beginning of the stream, or the beginning of where I talked about how I plan the size of my buildings, and basically it depends on the size you have available and then what is logically necessary for your build. For example, when I first started building my fire station, I thought, hey, could I build one as an outpost on a 16 by 32 stud base plate? And then I saw the fire truck and I said, no, there's no way, because the fire truck would fill up the entire base plate. So I had to build it on a 32 by 32 base plate. Chris asks, which is better, stairs or lift? Really up to you. There is no better, but lifts take up less space. GJ Bricks, you're trying to hijack my stream, I can see, but I always do it for your stream, so fair play. Alright guys, any last questions? Please let me know. I do want to answer them. Today we talked about why, or how actually, not why, but how I go about building my mocks. What's my process? I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the process and maybe it's helped you in your own process. I shared with you a couple of the mocks I've built relevant to the process, and we also talked about the Small Brick City Spotlight. So if you've got any final questions, do let me know. If not, you know what to do. Hit the like button for this. If you're watching this for the first time, you have always watched the videos but haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button as well. I really appreciate that. And if you didn't know, the co-founder for Small Brick City is Annie. She's usually on the stream, but she's also been working, so probably pretty tired. But do check out her channel as well. It's Annie Small Brick City. She does really cool speed builds. We've got some ready but filmed but not edited. again, lack of time. But do check out her videos if you haven't, if you're new to her channel or never heard of it before. Check out Annie Small Brick City and go ahead and check her channel out and subscribe as well. All right, let's see. Last questions, you guys. Yep, Galligate, you talked about where's Annie? Yep, she's just tired and busy, I guess. All right, you guys, I'm glad. I think the stream has been stable. It's been fixed, upgraded my wireless network adapter because obviously my ISP wasn't doing a good job. And like button has been elbow dropped. Thank you, Drum Bones. Really appreciate that. Well, thank you so much, guys. I hope you'll be enjoying it. I'll stay on for the chat for a bit more. But if not, we will end the stream now. I had a great time as usual. It seemed like I haven't done this for a very long time for whatever reason. That's probably because we cut the stream short last week. But I hope you enjoyed this episode 11 of Coffee and Bricks, how I build my Lego MOCs. So thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it. And I will talk to you next week, same time, same place. Talk to you soon.